Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number Everything Smart Bed sale. Every smart bed and base are on sale during our Memorial Day event. Up to 50% off, plus free home delivery. Limited time. Exclusively the Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Hello, book lovers. Welcome to Must Love Books. Hello, book lovers. Welcome back to Must Love Books. Today, I am here with author Aster Vaughn, who recently released Briarthorn Uni, as well as storyteller Heather, also known as BluFlameChic. Hello, guys. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I am doing good.
Thanks for having me.
So happy to have you here. So we'll just go ahead and dive in. Why don't you tell us about Briarthorn?
So Briarthorn Uni, at least the first book, is all of the books in the series will be about the world of Briarthorn, which is a university for magical students, magical creatures, and other fantasy beings that exist in our modern world, but hidden from human society. The university is it's not cursed, but it does have a lot of plots going on within it that affect different characters. The book itself is written from a couple of different points of view, and it's kind of like a more advanced version of Monster High, I would think. I was never really a fan of Monster High. I was too old for it, but this is what I would imagine it would be if it were taking place in a college setting.
You know, I am too old for Monster High. However, I am still a fan of Monster High.
Excellent. I need to get more into it. I think it's definitely something up my alley, but
yeah, it's just something fun and creative. I don't care if it's for kids. I use my kids as an excuse to watch the new movies and stuff.
Nice.
I do that as well. I don't think I was ever immersed in Monster High. I knew of it, and it was probably something that I would have gravitated towards, but never did for whatever reason. But I think it's pretty interesting to look at it now, especially from an adult perspective. Looking at it.
I just love the creativity with the characters and, how they touch on different mythologies and folklore and horror tales.
Definitely. And that happens or will happen more in Briarthorn as well. A lot of the characters are, at least the 3 main characters, Ralph, Lavandula, and Kian. Ralph is a vampire, so he has a unique vampire story, I think. He doesn't know who his sire is, and that will be explored in other books. Lavandula is an undead human. She's actually the outcast of the entire university because she is human, but an undead. So she's what is it that I had? The rule is that no humans, non-magical humans, are allowed to attend the university. So her being there is kind of against the rules, but not really. And she has no access to magic, using her own magic. So she's ostracized for that. And then Kian is a werewolf, and he is rooted in Irish werewolf mythology.
That sounds excellent. Can you tell us about where some of your inspirations came from?
The world itself originated on TikTok as a cosplay tag that just on a whim. I am a lover of cosplay. I've been doing it since I was very young. And costume design has always been a hobby and passion of mine. So I created the character Lavandula with the intention of putting her in a storytelling cosplay tag for TikTok. And from there, I was like, I don't really know what to do. I made connections with a bunch of people, including Heather. and we just became mutuals and started like creating stories and characters from there. Lavendula is rooted specifically in a lot of my personal feelings growing up, feeling like an outsider. I recently came to the conclusion that I'm autistic, so I'm pretty sure that's where a lot of her mannerisms and stuff came from. But the first character I made for like a original character cosplay was Ralph. And his cosplay was awful in 2019 when it started, but I ended up throwing him into the world as well, and then the story just kind of ballooned from there.
OG Ralph was the greatest. I don't know.
Oh my god.
You shut up.
I
loved OG Ralph.
Heather, why don't you tell us about your introduction to Briarthorn and your cosplay, your OC?
So I had found Briarthorn, and I had been a watcher for a while. I was nervous myself joining in on something like that because I was still new to like the cosplay world. After wanting to do it for so long, I've always been like a big, artsy person, but younger me was very like, ooh, people are gonna perceive it. But I met all these great people and they were very supportive. And I was, you know what? I'm gonna join it. I'm gonna do it. And then I created my first OC, which was Amora, werewolf girl. And she was in the beginning, very, quiet, reserved, very sweet girl. And she was the one that I had introduced to everybody. And then I did the videos first, and then I joined into the roleplay universe. And then from there, like I said, I met all these great people who are still my great friends now. And we have created so many awesome, amazing stories together. And now I have this repertoire of OCs that are just my little babies, and I love them so much. But Amora being my first was probably something. She's been through a lot.
She has.
She's been through a lot.
Still going.
She's still, I don't know how, but she's still going. But she definitely was more something that was closer to me, my personality, and was brought in, and definitely was my outreach to connection to this whole world. So she has a special place in my heart, even though I probably mess with her the most. But
oh yeah, Lavendula gets thrown everywhere, like constantly. Everybody's first character comes in like this tender, sweet little bean, like a little bit of a self-insert, like, hello, I'm shy. And then 3 seasons later they're like dead, hybrid
dying,
mess,
hybrid
dead,
mess.
undead, cursed, possessed, melting, like it's all there.
Yeah,
it's great.
Bound in contracts to higher beings and things, and it's introduced. And of course, like TikTok unfortunately has grown away from a lot of like how cosplay tags used to be.
Oh yeah.
But I think that time of TikTok was probably my favorite, that like 2019, 2020 era. Because there were so many of them that were floating all over the place. And it was so great to see so many people immersing themselves in storytelling. And there was a lot of people, especially in Briarthorn, that like only did like the TikTok video aspect of it, which was still like a way of expressing it. But I think me taking an extra step, because I've never considered myself a writer per se, and that was never something that I wanted to do, but that has definitely changed now, and it has definitely grown. Looking back at like, when I started like in the original server, how I would write versus how I write now is tremendously different. It has helped me on so many levels of that.
Years of practice. The roleplay tag is 5 years old. On March 3rd, 2024, it turned 5.
Yeah, Heather, your cosplay videos is actually why I started TikTok in 2020.
Oh yeah, because awesome. Because you would reach out and ask me about it. You're like, oh my god, that's really cool. I'm like, you could do it too. Like it's like it's something that it's such a cool form of expression.
Definitely.
And definitely, like when I first started cosplay, just in general, being like everything had to be exactly like the character. I'm no longer like that. I don't like no, I don't. It doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be super expensive and super whatever, like pulling things out of closet things or completely fine.
Mhm.
But those were the majority of the cosplays that I did were for Briarthorn.
I am blessed.
And Briarthorn doesn't just exist as a TikTok community. You also have a Discord where you guys actually role play as these characters. Why don't you tell us some more about that?
Yes, we do. So that the original server, actually, I wasn't too much of a part of. Like, I wanted to keep the name for myself, so I made the server, but I had no idea what the hell Discord was in 2019. I was, you know, old, I guess, by that standard, but now I'm very immersed. I understand it completely. So it was a mess for the first few months of it, and then I showed up in there and was like, all right, we got to make some rules. We can't, this is a college themed role play, we got to have some classes, we got to have some organization, and not just people like getting married after 2 scenes and doing all that wildness. So some structure arrived. I selected some mods, and I started to bring the story that I was telling through cosplay into the RP. And from there, invited other people. Like, if they wanted to be part of the Discord server, they had to cosplay first, just so we could verify you're a real adult person. And yeah, then over the past few years, it's evolved. We've moved servers. The original server was a lovely place to like begin, but it got messy and just like disorganized. And after 3 years of storytelling, it's like you kind of want a fresh slate. So that also coincided with a part of the overall story where like time was rewritten. So going into the new server, time was rewritten, and it was easier to like adapt to that and just be like, okay, you can have the same characters. If you want to rewrite their backstories or where they're at, go right ahead. That is a common theme in all of Briarthorn, is death, rebirth, either in character but also as a writer, because I don't want people to feel stuck in the story that they're already telling. I want them to have the freedom to explore things like change, big change, dramatic change, whether it's through the world or just through your character. Usually that looks like death, but it doesn't have to. It's just death is a representation of change and growth. There's a lot of different moments in the story where people can rewrite what they were doing, where they're going.
It is a fun time over there.
So what made you decide to take this role-playing story and turn it into an actual book to share with the world?
I think the original concept of it was going to be a book. Like, the idea was brewing in my brain, but it was at, how old was I? 28, I guess, when I started it. Writing a book was just like something that I thought I would do in my 50s, like I'd live a whole life and then eventually write a book. That's not what happened, obviously. But after being immersed in the role play for a few years, I was like, wow, writing is definitely something I love, and it's something that I'm decent at. So I might as well compile my stories into a novel. And then as I was doing that, I'm like, I might as well feature stories and characters inspired by my friends and what they were doing as well. So that if there is ever an expansion, like if Heather ever wanted to tell Amora's story in a written format, Amora's alias inspiration character in the novel is named Aurelia. So Aurelia could have her own spin-off whatever, where Heather kind of takes the reins and goes from there. Or tells, because Amora's their original character, so I will not claim ownership of the character or the story. Like, the story is going to be changed ever so slightly to avoid plagiarism and all that, for Aurelia. But since Amora was the canon character for the RP, Heather would still retain the ability to tell her story somewhere else if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you're gonna pursue at some point?
Who, me?
Yeah, you. Yeah, you.
I don't know. Maybe. I'm still in this weird like discourse with myself that like when people ask me like hobbies that I do, writing or like being that kind of thing is never like the first thing that comes to my head. It's like, yes, I do role play, and yes, I do write my character stories and interactions with others and, you know, big climaxes and things, but I think it's more of a discourse that I have with myself. I'm like, you're not a writer like that. Maybe someday, you know, but I think I just have to get over that hump with myself, being like,
it takes time.
yeah, and
you'll get there.
yeah, it's just, I mean, I know it's there in the back of my head, and you know, I've been playing a lot more, you know, D&D tables lately, and you know, they'll ask me my experience. My experience always stems from Briarthorn roleplay, and they're always like, "Oh, is that like D&D?" I'm like, "Well, kind of, but it's more storytelling than like actual, you know, rolling dice in combat and stuff." And they're like, "Oh, so you're a writer?" And I'm like, "Well,
yes, you are."
So yes, I have maybe.
If you write, you are a writer.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Exactly.
You know, you don't have to be an author to be a writer.
Yeah.
You just have to write.
1000% yes.
So what can we expect coming from Briarthorn here out?
So the first book was released December 8th, 2023. So that is still where I'm like focusing kind of, it's self-published, and a lot of the things that I do for Briarthorn are just me doing them alone. So it's slow, but that's okay. I'm used to slow growth. I have a jewelry company that also is just me, and it took about 5 or 6 years before people were recognizing locally people were recognizing the brand and being like, oh my god, that's you, I love your this, I bought from whatever. So slow growth is just preferred for me in that way. I am currently writing book 2, which I do post the rough drafts to my Wattpad page for people to glean and read for funsies. That's usually like the structure of what the next book or the next chapters in book will look like, but after edits and revisions, certain points in the story might change, and like, you know, what was spoken about in chapter 4 might actually show up in chapter 6 kind of thing. But hopefully book 2 will be finished and finalized before the holiday season of 2024. I think I would like, if I can keep on my own schedule, I would love to see a new book come out in the series every December going forward, which is very like ambitious of me, but it is a hyperfixation. So I think hopefully I can do it. But yeah.
Do you have an idea of how many books you're planning for, or just kind of going with the flow?
I do, and it's going to sound crazy, but 15 books is probably going to be, because of the thing that happens where time changes and the stories change for the characters, some of them. After like book 7, I think book 7 or book 8, I think it's book 7, where like the first iteration of the world ends. So then 8 onward would be a new timeline, a new universe, but still referencing the first 7 books. But like, I mean, you don't necessarily have to read the first 7 to go from 8 to 15 the way that I have it like mapped out, but you will miss some like cool lore and other like callbacks and stuff without it. So they're kind of like 2 different series, but all 15 books. Yeah, I'm a little insane, but it's okay. We'll get there.
I, for one, am looking forward to them.
Thanks. Thank you.
So when you are not immersed in Briarthorn, you are also a Twitch streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us about some of your streams?
Oh boy, I kind of just goof off in game with my friends, Heather being one of them. We play a lot of like first person shooters and other like Lethal Company and silly goofy group games. But I also host like a body doubling stream, like a co-working thing. So I'll be there either with my face or my VTube model, and I have like little timers to be like, okay, now we're doing a work sprint. So for 20 minutes, just work, and then the 15-minute break we can chat and get some water and whatever. So I just started doing those, but they've seemed helpful, definitely for me and for my friends that tune in. But yeah, it's just like a nice little, I don't know. I sometimes like having a body double, but I don't necessarily want a person in my space when I'm doing stuff. So it's good to have just like the background noise of a stream.
They
going
are
for
really
that.
helpful.
And Heather, what about your Twitch?
My Twitch. It's pretty much the same thing. I do a lot of goofy things with my friends, Aster included. Playing, things from Overwatch to Lethal Company to I started a series for Poppy Playtime, some horror stuff. But yeah, I just was able to start streaming again as I have come into a better system to hold it, so my old laptop didn't catch fire. And it's just a fun little thing that I've shared with all my friends. Nothing too serious. I don't do a wonderful body doubling. I use my other friend for that.
Thank you for your bodies.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I need to use your body real quick. Thanks. But yeah, it's a fun little goofy little time over there.
I know I don't hop on, I don't make it around to your streams that often. Usually if I find out that you're streaming, I'm like, oh, that was 6 hours ago. Never mind.
I have a tendency, because of my schedule, my streams are always later. I consider myself a late night streamer because I cannot start until 8 or 9 Central Time myself. But I'm usually up anyway, so it really kind of helps with me. I know Aster's streams are a lot earlier. To check those
Eastern time over here.
Yeah, Eastern time. A lot earlier for me, but mine are usually more like late night, like going into 1, 2 a.m.
Which I used to be able to keep up with, but for some reason I'm on like an early sleep schedule now. So once 10:30 hits, I'm like, my brain's off. I got
done.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
But that'll change as the summer and the sun hang out longer.
Yeah, I don't like winter.
No.
I
love it, but mostly for the reasons of being able to like hibernate and not have to go places. I like my room. It's nice.
Yeah. Same.
A lot of the people that have come into Briarthorn came in either by invitation through someone who's like not a part of it anymore, or just happened to like accidentally stumble into the world, which I think is kind of like serendipitous and beautiful, because at first there were a lot of people, and since 2019 it's kind of trimmed itself down to like a few core members, as well as like new faces every once in a while. But we are a lot more I don't even know what the term is. I think it's long form RP. Like we enjoy longer form, descriptive, and like a turn base. So it's not quite D&D, but it is like D&D has a lot of math. There's not a lot of math with Briarthorn, which is great. Just creative writing. But it's definitely a stylistic thing that I don't think works with everybody's type of RP. So I'm very blessed and lucky to have the people that have stuck it out, like have similar taste in writing as me. Also exploring darker themes and stuff like that. That wasn't always well received by the greater group, which, made me feel a little like bad. Like, did I write the story bad? But like, no, it's my world. It's my story. I'm doing this. If you can't stick it out, then that's okay. It's just not for you. But I don't know. I found that interesting.
I think the best part about Briarthorn, just in general, like the RP side of it, is the fact that it has grown from the original server. And even just looking back, I'm not even just my own work and how everybody else used to write. And a lot of the people that are still a part of the Briarthorn roleplay today I mean, everybody has had so much growth in their writing style, and it has developed from the original server, which was like very quick and very like very not as descriptive and more like an actual like person to person conversation. But now it is definitely more, there's so much more feeling into it. There's so much more, like exactly what the characters are doing. And yes, it is more long form, but it is more immersive in my brain for me to grasp what's going on in like a bigger um event of some sort. Like we had a Valentine's Day ball that happened, and it was just so, it was fun, but it was still like everybody had their own points and everybody was still doing all these things under like the umbrella of the event, and everything was so descriptive and beautiful. And I think there was music provided, I think, which was just really cool. And just events like that happen, or little, stories that are going on with other stories, and just the being able to read everybody's together is such a cool thing. And looking back at where the original server started, it just has grown so much, and it's just so, I definitely try to brag about it as much as I can
I
to like
appreciate
people
that.
who and people who like I just started, I'm in 2 D&D campaigns now, and they're asking things about me. I'm like, well, I have my experience from this really cool role play server. And yes, it's not exactly D&D, but it's still really cool. And I think that aspect has helped me in a lot of D&D games with character creation and being able to role play with others. And so I definitely stem a lot of my experience and things like that from Briarthorn. I'm very lucky to have found it in, what was it, 2019?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2019.
March of 2019. So the first book is actually a retelling of the stuff that happened from March of 2019 to May of 2019, I think, both in the cosplay, mostly in the cosplay tag. Actually, I wasn't role playing at that point. I started role playing that summer because I saw how messy the server had been, and I'm like, I don't like this. This is not what my brand is for. No, 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 we're not doing that. But yeah, and it does feel like reading books, short stories, like when you're reading the RP. And just collaborative storytelling in general is really fun because it's like 2 different minds in the same world, or 3 different minds, multiple minds in the same world. It's really, really neat.
It's really cool. And like back in 2019 on TikTok in general, when like all those cosplay tags were around, and I think a few of them had Discord servers that you could like go and continue storytelling in there. But it's like Briarthorn is like stood the test of time. Like we're still around, we're still doing things. Yes, like the TikTok aspect is not as prominent, but like it's still there. It's still thriving. It's still, storytelling is still happening, and it's not many of those that you see that.
A lot of other cosplay tags and storytelling tags kind of imploded, or just the leader like dropped off and then no one else knew what to do.
Yeah, and it does take a special type of person to want to continue to like have that, like how Aster has kept that alive for us. I mean, you could have dropped it at any point and been like, nope, we're done. But you didn't. You kept it alive, and we've all grown into really close friends. And it's just, even if it would, it's still around, and it's such a great community in that aspect. And I don't know if I'm biased because I'm a part of it, but but I definitely think it takes a special person like that to be able to keep something like that afloat.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So, with all of my guests on here, because this is a book themed podcast, we also discuss some of the books that we love. So, what are you guys reading right now?
I'm actually in a weird between books right now, but I started an urban fantasy book recently that is good. I just need to make more time to like sit down and actually read. Like my attention span is after social media and everything. So that, but also, what is it? Gideon the Ninth. I've been trying to read. That's about lesbian necromancers, and like, hello, I'm here. Give it to me. But that one also has like really intense language, so it's a little hard to follow. It's, like very descriptive. A lot of fantasy books start with like a very descriptive first half of the book telling you what the world is like, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is so much information. But those two, if I could remember the first one's title, I'll say it. But yeah, I love fantasy books and sci-fi, but I haven't found a good sci-fi that has like a female protagonist. I'm tired of reading men's stories. I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm so tired of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've read a male-led book in years. Like, maybe not since Harry Potter. Like, I
Right.
literally cannot think of any male-led book where I actually like finished the whole thing.
Yeah, no,
after
it's
that,
because
so
it's just
Yeah, I don't
I'll
think
start them, I'll try, and then I'm like, "Ugh, I can't
Yeah.
connect with the man experiences.
I did for 2023. I specifically made a point to not read any book written by a man. And it was
Nice.
actually fairly simple because I apparently don't really read much in the
Right.
first place.
It's like, oh wow.
There was honestly two authors who I'm like, oh, I want to read them, but I'm not doing men this year. I'm not reading books by men this year.
Mhm.
I'm not,
Hey yo.
I'm not just doing men this year. Oh,
Yep.
the
You know
books.
what?
Mood.
I'm like, I really wanted to read Slewfoot, which was kind of I'm not really sure what it's about because I pick books on the vibes and don't
Same.
like to. I used to want to know everything about a book before I read it, and like now I don't want to know anything. I want to be surprised. I'm like, I'll
Yep.
pick it by the vibes.
Absolutely.
And I very much do buy books based on the cover these days.
Me too. Absolutely.
I really do. I shouldn't admit that, but I do. So I really wanted to read Slewfoot, and I'm like, and I even bought it. I'm like, oh, this is written by a man. I can't read it this year. And then I also got a couple Riley Sager books, who is a horror author I've always wanted to check out.
Cool.
And I bought several books, and I'm like, I cannot read any of these this year. Why am I buying them? Bought them anyway. Yes, exactly. So I'll probably read those at some point in 2024. And
Cool.
then those are probably the only two male authors I've had any interest in actually reading. So the whole I'm not reading men this year thing was not that difficult.
Yeah. It's really not. And it kind of sucks that a lot of like non-men authors end up in the young adult section, even though I'm totally okay with that. Like I love books, but sometimes
Books.
sometimes I'll pick up a and I'm like, wow, this is very mature for some young adults. What is going on here? And it's just because the author was a woman or just not a man.
And I totally have noticed that myself. Like a lot of Brandon Sanderson books, he is a very good fantasy author, but a lot of his books I feel like could and should maybe considered YA. Whereas then you have, the Sarah S.J. Maas books, Akotar, and all those books, which keep getting put into YA.
Yeah.
And those books are not YA. I mean, the first one maybe iffy, kind of borderline. But the rest of those series, like, that is definitely not young adult. That's not, something 13-year-old kids should be reading.
Absolutely.
But because she's a woman fantasy author, it's all going to get shoved into YA. Whereas other authors who should be in YA are considered adult fantasy, even though I don't think they really count just because they're male. Like, do we ever put any, like, obviously there are some male authors in YA, but I just feel like there are a lot more that should be considered YA, but for some reason we view YA as like a woman's field. And
Yep. And I'm personally a little bit nervous that my book will end up, I mean, I'm not nervous because like I love YA, but I know where the story is going. And some of these themes, I don't know if they're appropriate for 13, 14, 15, or if, if it's just, they're not ready yet for that level of, I will say there's not a lot of like erotic romance in my books at all. I don't really want that in the world. That's like a separate thing. Yeah, the first book could definitely be YA, and then as it goes on, I'm like just a little concerned that it'll end up on those like conservative, like this book needs to be banned because it's got witchcraft in it kind of shit. And I'm like, well, it's got a lot more than that in there.
It's got a lot more than that.
I don't know if this is for the young ones, but
honestly, though, that might make a good marketing tactic.
Right? Very true. Very true.
If you get enough conservatives angry about witchcraft in your book,
yep,
there are plenty of people, myself included, who will intentionally buy it.
I want to read. Yep. Absolutely.
I literally took this list of books that were banned at a children's school, like an elementary school in Florida, and I started adding books from that list to my kids' library simply because, why do they, they're banning it because they don't want you to know something or they don't want you to read something. What is it that they don't want you to read? And I'm looking through this list, and like the majority of it is just books written by or even illustrated by people of color.
Oh, God.
There's no inappropriate content. Like one of the books on this banned list was it was about dim sum. It's a little Asian family enjoying sharing their food. Like, this is inappropriate for children. Dim sum for everyone is not appropriate. Like,
that's wild.
Crazy. I think I did there was some TikTok video, I think it was sent to me or I just found it, but it was like a list of just an adult speaking to like a group of children, like, these are why we can't read these books. And it was like, but it was like the craziest things that were banned in these like books. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's interesting. Books that either like I grew up around or things that are now banned in schools.
Yeah.
And with having a kid of my own, I'm like, well, I guess we can read that. Let's read that. Like, what, why can't you read that there? And like my kid's school, they do, once every couple months, they'll do a book that they all read as a school together. And it's just the list keeps getting smaller and smaller of things that they can all read together that are like marked okay for all of them to do. And it's a crazy thing to think about.
It's especially crazy comparing it to like when we were younger and seeing some of the books that, we read, or at least I read at a younger age, now being on these ban lists, like Judy Blume. Why are they banning Judy Blume?
Yeah.
I grew up with those. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the books that like either they would let it, like we'd have to read in class aloud, or things that are now completely banned. I'm like, well, okay, that's an interesting. Okay.
Well, and they'll ban books, that show like racial equality, or books, that go into the civil rights movement, but we still have Mark Twain with the N-word and students reading that out loud, and that's okay, but we can't know the real reason why Rosa Parks was arrested during her protest.
Yeah.
What?
Totally. I remember the white English teacher was like, I'm going to read this part because I don't want any of you to do that. And I'm like, we don't really want you to do that either. I don't know why. What do you mean? You're like volunteering to do something you don't have to do. We could all read silently. There's no reason for this.
There's no reason to be reading that book in school at all because it's not a good book.
That's the other thing. Male authors with this like old ass idea of like, it's a classic. You have to know it. I don't. There's plenty of classic similar themes, but done better. Like, why not? Let's expand our repertoire of reading, please.
And that's not to say like classic books should be forgotten or anything. It's just we kind of got to keep with the times. And that's not saying we should only read modern things, but it means we should read things that reflect our modern ideals. We don't need to read a book about kids saying the N-word to know, oh, back then they said it was okay, but we know it's wrong now. No, we don't need to actually read the book to learn that lesson.
Exactly.
We can just know, hey, this word is not appropriate. And just because they used it back then doesn't mean it was ever okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Frankly, I think we should all make everyone read The Hunger Games in school. It touches on everything, and then we will raise all these children to be revolutionaries.
Let's hope.
There's so many books we can knock off the old reading list by just including The Hunger Games.
By just including The Hunger Games, yes.
Facts.
Lord of the Flies, gone. We don't need it. Animal Farm, gone. We don't need Animal Farm. Mark Twain, gone. We will replace them all with The Hunger Games.
With the Hunger Games series.
Absolutely. That was also written by a woman, right?
Yeah, Suzanne Collins.
So, there you go.
Who is an absolute treasure, and we do not deserve her.
Those are great books.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I read them. I try to read them like once a year, not always, but I read them often. And then we also watch the movies all the time. My 7-year-old River is obsessed with The Hunger Games. Cute. And the books are too much for her to read. She did sit down. She tried to read one full page, and she just looks and goes, I'm not ready for this. Because there's no pictures and there's just a lot of words. But then she discovered audiobooks, and now she takes my phone to listen to The Hunger Games on Audible.
That's awesome.
And she finds it even funnier because the woman who narrates is Tatiana Maslany, who played She-Hulk, which is a show that River loved. Yes. Cool. And she's like, She-Hulk is reading me Hunger Games. This is the best. That. She falls asleep to about one full chapter each night, sometimes only half a chapter. So she has She-Hulk read her bedtime stories.
Our friend Taylor is also a huge fan of The Hunger Games, and she just finished or is working on a D&D campaign that is Hunger Games themed. So
that is amazing.
Yeah, she's been working real hard on that.
It's incredible.
I'm excited to see it.
I think
that be available for purchase? And when can I get one?
I think she'll probably stream a playthrough of it once she like gathers a table for it and all that. But yeah, that would actually be cool if she could like sell the NPC sheets and stuff.
Yeah. Send me that information.
Absolutely.
I want to watch this and then I want to purchase it.
Put me in,
I'm
coach.
Excited about
please.
It. Yeah.
So do you guys have anything else that you would like to add before we start wrapping up?
If you like The Neverending Story, you're going to love Briarthorn Uni. That's it.
Great.
And that is it.
Done. Goodbye.
Done.
Done.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. This has been Must Love Books with Aster Vaughn and Heather BluFlameChic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening. This has been Must Love Books. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon under @MustLoveBooksPodcast. Thank you and happy reading.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.